What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Nightmare Chess. This is video number 3. We're going through a bots challenge series on chess.com. On our last two videos, we challenged Nelson and Jade, both rated 1300, and we did fairly well. If you want to see those videos, make sure you check them out on my channel. And today we are challenging David, rated 1400. So let's see how we do today. We're going to do as we've been doing on our last videos, two games. One is white, one is black. So here we go. This is going to be randomized, so I'm not sure what we're going to start with. Let's see. All right, we're starting as white. No problem. Let's go ahead and get it going. Okay, the Bishop Fianchetto here. These kind of plays are tricky. They make me kind of nervous. Hopefully we do okay. What? Okay. Is he planning to attack here? Man, these moves are just not used to seeing them, I guess. Let's see. I guess we just keep developing. Now we do have control of the center. We've got our two knights. He's got a few pawns developed and a bishop, I guess, but I'm just not seeing the plan here. Let's develop the bishop. Okay, maybe his plan was just to ruin my castle. My castling on the king side. But I can still try to castle queen side. Let's see. Takes. I think I'm just going to go for that. Let's see. All right. Let's bring the queen up. Question is where? I mean, if I bring her up to d2, then I can go for some kind of battery. I can also just take on e6. And then the queen would take there. I might like that. I mean, be up 2 pawns. I can even push again, I think. The knight defends, the queen defends. I'm just not seeing David's strategy here. What's going on? Maybe I should push. What happens if I push? Well, the knight would be restricted. This pawn on c7 can come down and, well, that's an en passant right there. So I think I might like that position. Let's see how that goes. So like I said, I have 2 protectors of the d pawn as of right now. So I think I'm okay. I think what I'll do is bring the queen up to d2 here, and then castle queenside. Should I go for the trades? A pawn up. Well, 2 pawns up if I take this pawn. Let's go for the trade. And now I have this fork. Okay. Let's see here. Now, obviously, I can castle. I'm just trying to see if there's still a way I can manage to get here. forking the king and rook. I guess I can just... No, because the pawn can just take. I would have to relocate the bishop like this. Sacrifice it and fork the king and rook. Let's just castle for now. Right. I guess I can keep going for trades. I mean, I'm 2 pawns up. Hold on, the knight might want to come here. And then there's this threat. Sorry guys, the neighbor's dog's barking if you hear it. Let's see. I know I'm probably taking more time here than I should. What if I come down like this? Okay, now I want to try this attack. Bishop to b4. And again, if the bishop takes, then the knight will jump over to c7, forking the king and rook. And there's no... If the bishop takes, there's no check or attack that's that we have to worry about, really. But will he take? He will. Rook is ours. And maybe we could get away and not lose the king, the knight. Maybe. We'll see. If I come here, takes. Well, maybe we will lose the knight. That's still okay, though. Because we've already got a rook for a knight. Let's see. I'm wondering if I could double up on the d file and then just strike here. I mean, the knight would have this. What if I try something? Let me see. Maybe we'll try to double up. We'll go for this attack. If this comes, then we can still have some kind of, some kind of tactic there, I think. Oh, I also have another fork on this side. Let's see what happens there. And if the G pawn strikes, we can still fork. All right, so David didn't put up much of a fight as black in this round. And we're able to get away, which is great. Okay, now this pawn is pinned. Maybe we can double up now. Okay, let's go for the check first. Knight threatening that. I could just take it, but let's go for the check first, and then we'll take. I can also save this knight now. Check. Come here. Check. All right, let's simplify now. I do want to do this, but I know he's got that. He's going to try to run. Maybe I try to block those squares. But then the G pawn can simply just come down and give him some running space. Let's try it anyway. We're going to try to block off this square from the king so that he can't run far. Although now can just run this way. Let's see. Let's just go for the check. Comes down. And then we will try to double up on the 7th rank. I mean, of course, I can just strike here and take this pawn, But let's go for the knight first, since it's pinned. Now we'll take the knight. Okay, good move. Let's see. I can go for a check. Oh no, I cannot. I would block the rooks and lose one. Start taking pawns. Thankfully, that's not a fork. Now I can strike with a check. And very likely to run either to d5 or f5. Neither of those squares really do much for me. So let's keep taking pawns. And then I'll pin this knight again. Okay, moves. King moves, and we'll give a check. King's going to start running to my side of the board. Here. Just come down one. I mean, I know I have a winning position, guys. I'm just trying to see what the easiest way to do this is, I guess. Let's threaten the knight. Here. 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 Okay, miscalculated that, but it's still there. All right. So not a difficult game. Game 1 against David. I mean, I don't. There's nothing to think about here. Just take pawns. All right, let's just start marching. We might be able to checkmate. All right. That's game 1 as white against David. Game review. Let me just see that one mistake. See what that was. Okay. Wow. So I had one mistake. In this game, David apparently had 11 mistakes. That was probably a lucky round. I'm not sure how David did so bad. I think that was just luck to get randomized moves by the AI here. Okay, so the game review suggests to take the bishop there. All right, let's go ahead and start game 2 as black against David. And here we go. Again with the fianchetto. What is this? What's going on there? Does David always play like this? You guys let me know. I haven't played him in a while, but these moves are just... I don't know. I don't know how to describe them. Just really random. able to push the pawn forward 2 spaces with the queen watching. Here I can take and take back. I can just push forward, threaten the knight to move again. At that point, the knight would have moved 3 times. Right. I mean, but I do have space advantage right now, and I can probably develop the knight, this second knight, on g8, and just need to know where to go. What's the easier? I mean, I guess here I don't block my bishop in, and this pawn isn't developed yet or pushed forward yet, so there is no pin. And if it pushes forward, I can push the h pawn. Okay, queen moves in front of the king. I can take now. There's a take back, then the queen will take. Alright, I think I'll just bring the knight back to f6. Alright, attack on d4. But it is being watched 3 times. David's creating fake threats here. I can push the queen away. This pawn's being watched. Queen can move over, I guess. But I do want to play the smartest moves. Takes. I mean, we still get to develop the bishop. And David's losing tempo, having to move his pieces multiple times. None of his pieces are developed. Queen comes to d3. Maybe plans of pushing this pawn. Let's develop the bishop. Go back. Alright, so now David he's gaining space advantage here. I need to start figuring out what to do. I think for now I'll have to tuck my bishop away, just in case. This also prevents the pawn from attacking the knight. Okay, another attacker for the d4 pawn. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That would end pretty evenly. And I can add a fourth, but then that just leads to the b pawn coming down. Maybe I just bring my pawn up 1. Comes down, I can take, I believe. Alright, now the question is, can I take here? Takes, and should I take with the pawn instead? Because I'm never a fan of this pawn push here. Maybe I'll take with the knight. And maybe I go for the trades. Am I up? No, we're exactly tied. We both are down a pawn and a knight, so we're completely tied. So if I take here, I don't know that has much of an advantage. Actually, wait. If I take and he takes back and I take, I would be up a bishop. So we might have better luck in that position. And I'm usually not a fan of trading queens right away. So we'll move the knight to d5 and relocate somewhere, here or here. Okay, bring the pawn up. Probably come here. Okay, probably. I think the better move was to bring the bishop to d3 to prevent a fork. What if I go this way? There's nothing on this side. Let's try the fork again. All right. Blocked by the rook. Let's, should we castle here? Yeah, I guess so. I do need to be aware of this pin here. This pawn might come down a strike, but my bishop watches that. And I think we'll just make a pawn chain. Oh, I'd love to relocate my bishop, my light squared bishop right about now. I can come to d3, and if takes, that would be a great fork, being watched by my knight. Alright, doesn't take. I can take the knight, can take the bishop. If I take this bishop, this pawn develops a bit further. I mean, it has nowhere to go, but let's see. And I am up a bishop currently in this game. Takes. Maybe we'll just take the, hold on. Okay, just making sure that this rook didn't have an attack on the c5 bishop, pawn. All right, let's connect the pawn chain. Connect 3. I have a check. Probably doesn't do much. Queen can either move to g2 or g1 or f1. I can also push the pawn, forcing the knight to move. The knight can just move down to f4, threatening to strike back. If I check with the knight, let's say the king moves back, what can I do from this position? I don't see much, honestly. I'm probably missing stuff, but I don't see it. However, I can push this pawn if takes, take with the rook, and then kind of start trying to infiltrate down on the 7th rank, maybe. All right. Is this a fork? Well, no, it's not, because the knight is watching this square. Sorry, here. And this, knight's watching that. Here's a check. Both pawns have moved down and have left some space for the king to be attacked. Now there's a fork here. Check, and then take this pawn. And then I can take the knight. Because if I just take the knight now, this pawn can just take back. So I'm going to strike the king first. Then I go for the fork, or for the pawn. Alright, should have thought of that. My knight isn't being watched. I can just develop this pawn in front of it, or I can just move it. And if I move to g6, I can try to strike with another check. Let's take the... Yeah, I'm going to take the knight. Going to protect the knight, so my bishop will protect the knight, so the king won't have a choice but to strike the bishop. And then I'll relocate to okay. Took with the pawn. I'll still relocate to g6, striking e5. Let's give the check first. Wait, if I give the check, king can come down. Then I'd have two pieces being attacked. And I don't have a, well, my follow-up check would be here. Here. Unless he comes down this way like this. Then I don't have that. I don't have that check here. Let's take the rook first. And then we'll give another fork. Here, I think. Okay, maybe not. Strike here. Comes here. Not really much going on there, so let's just protect with the pawn. We can check here. And then maybe open up the file. Oh, the knight's not being watched again. Not necessarily trapped just yet. If I come here, king can still come here. Kind of pushing my knight around. So we'll sit him in the corner for now. Now I need to be really careful here because this rook can just easily come, and this king is close enough for my king not to have too many runaway squares. Actually, I don't have to take back. I can just check first. And then maybe hide under this pawn. What are you planning to do, David? So, rook will check. I can just take this pawn here. And at some point, I need to start marching one of these pawns, maybe these two. Try to get there. All right, I need to try to protect some of these pawns some way so I don't lose them all. If I move the knight here, the rook can take, and then I'd lose both pieces. It would be close to even there. Let's push this pawn up. Okay, I would like to check here and take the rook if it strikes. All right. What I'm going to do is bring the king. Probably not necessary. I'm going to bring the king to g5, and if the rook takes, yes, there it is. Oh, but the question is, can I stop this pawn in time? Let me see. Here. We're going to have to find out. Let's see. Let's go here. I'm going to have to sacrifice the knight. Possibly. Let's march our own pawns up. I definitely lost my advantage at some point. Here, takes. I may still be in time to save that pawn. If not, the game's over. Just march up. Hope that I can get there first. It's a pawn race now. Oh man. I think we got it though. That was a close one. If I had an advantage, I definitely lost it at some point. Almost threw that game away. How do we do this? Just gonna try to take that pawn and make sure it doesn't promote. Although I guess I don't really need to, but just to be on the safe side, you know. All right, at this point, we will checkmate the king. You still have some running squares, okay. And come here and then we'll checkmate. I come all the way back because I don't want to accidentally stalemate here. All right, there it is. Oh. All right, guys, we did it. That one was sort of a struggle. Let's see if I can kind of see where I started making mistakes. So I'm checking the game review. So I don't have any blunders, and I have 2 greats. David's got 1 great. I do have 2 mistakes and 1 miss. Okay, doesn't recommend to strike the knight again. Another mistake. Good move to bring the knight back. So far the only mistake I see has been pushing the pawn up to force the knight to move again, which I thought making David lose a tempo for a 3rd time with the knight would be good, but it was not. Yeah, I mean, that was a weird, I kind of, that's a weird placement for the knight, so I should have probably considered moving the knight elsewhere or doing something different here. So that makes sense. And like I said earlier, probably wasn't necessary to move that, move the king, because once the rook takes, let's see. Well, once the king moved here, if the rook would take, then I can attack the king. King would have to move, and then we can take rooks there. And even there, checking the king to take the rook apparently wasn't a good move. And makes sense because his pawn is already so close to promoting. So I probably would have been better to, let's see what the best move here was. To basically strike his pawn so that I can try to get my pawn to march down the F file and promote first. Makes sense. Yeah, this part was where it was crucial. So we slightly had an edge as black this game. And that was all she wrote. All right, guys. That's going to be it for today's video. We didn't do too bad against David. Those are our 2 games. Thanks again for watching. And I will actually, let's do this. Let's go ahead and check the bot. We've been doing that every video. We're going to see who our next video will be challenging. So our next challenge will be against Ali, rated 1400 from Indonesia. And we'll do our best to win those games. And we will continue to go up the bots in ratings until we get to the advanced. Right now, we're still in the intermediates. And we just have 2 more, which is Ali and Mateo. And once we defeat them 2, then we will move on to the advanced bots. We'll begin with Wendy from Canada. And then we'll keep going up. So thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like this content, and I'll see you in the next video.